This is a quick overview of installing Now SMS in a Linux or Mac environment. We're going to start off with Linux, where there's a difference depending on whether or not you have access to the graphical desktop interface or just the text-based terminal interface. We're going to start here with the desktop interface. So we're going to go to the Now SMS website, and we are going to locate the Now SMS quick install guide for Linux, and we're going to download from there. This is running in Debian, and in Debian, the process of downloading the archive, it has to go to the archive manager. You extract the Now SMS install program from that. We double click on Now SMS install to continue the installation. But before we do that, I want to show you what it looks like in some other flavors of Linux. This is Red Hat. You click on the download in Firefox and Red Hat. It opens the Files application. It's already decompressed the Now SMS archive, and there's a folder that you have to click into to find the Now SMS install program. This is Ubuntu. It's kind of similar to Debian, where we need to extract manually. Browser looks a little bit different, but again, we would click on the Now SMS install to continue the installation. Let's look at CentOS. And this is very similar to what you see in Red Hat. We find the Now SMS folder. There's the Now SMS install. Fedora, expecting this to be pretty similar to Red Hat as well. Again, Files app. It's already decompressed, and we have to go into the folder to locate Now SMS install. Linux Mint, like Debian, we need to extract. The buttons are moved around a little bit, but we need to extract from the archive. That gives us the Now SMS install, and we would click on that to then continue the installation. So with that said, let's switch back over to Debian, and we'll continue the installation process over there. Okay, we click on the Now SMS install. Now SMS is server software. It's going to be installed as a service. It's always active and automatically loaded when the computer started. You probably realize if you've installed enough Linux software that usually you have to run the sudo command to give administrator access, or give root access to be able to install the software. The installation program prompts for that when it needs it. So now we're installing things. Okay, here we are. And Now SMS is installed at this point. The only thing we need to do is create a user account so that we can log in, and so that we're not just logging in with a default. The important thing here, when you're creating an admin user, this enable admin access needs to be enabled. When you're creating the first time, that's automatically selected, and when you're creating accounts later, it's not automatically selected. And I just gave the account some SMS credits in consideration of later what we're going to do in the setup. Okay, at this point, Now SMS is installed, but you need to configure a connection to an SMSC before you can send any messages. And the different types of connections that are supported are an Android phone, GSM modem, or SMPP connections to mobile operators or other providers, and other protocols like UCP and CIMD. Now let's switch and take a look at the installation procedures for the text-based or terminal interface. I'm going to go to the quick install guide that we looked at before, and if you jump down to the terminal access text-based instructions, these are the steps that we're going to be following. Now, the terminal interface is what you'd be using if you were logging into a system at a hosting provider. So a virtual private server or a cloud server. So we're going to use SSH to connect to our server. This is our first connection, so that's a typical setup there, where we have to confirm the key. Okay, we're connected to the server now. Now we are going to use the curl command to download the latest version of the Now SMS install. takes longer to type it out than it does to download it. All right, now we need to unpack the archive. Okay, the archive's unpacked, and now that leaves us with the Now SMS install. Note that's case sensitive, and this is the prompts for installing. We simply just press I to install. It requires the sudo root password in order to complete the installation. And at that point, Now SMS is installed, but to complete the configuration, we need to go to a web browser on another machine. So I'm copying the IP address and going over to a web browser on another machine. We're logging in as admin, and the instructions there gave us a temporary password to use for initial setup. So we're going to copy that over. And now the first thing we want to do is create an account so that we're not using that temporary password anymore. That temporary password is going to be disabled as soon as we create an admin account here to replace it. So that's what we're going to do. We need to make sure that the Enable Admin Access via Web option is selected for the account. It is by default when you're adding an account this first time. And we're going to add some SMS credits just later on. We could disable the credit balance on the SMS account if we wanted to as well. So now we can log in with the account that we just set up. And that's the way that we're going to access the server from this point going forward. Now, before we can actually send any messages, we need to create an SMSC connection. These are the different types of SMSC connections that are supported, basically either a mobile phone or a connection to a service provider. Finally, let's take a look at Now SMS installing on a Mac. We're going to go to the Now SMS website. We are going to go to the same area for the Linux version, which also has the Mac version. The quick install guide. The second part of that has instructions for installing in the Mac environment, so we're going to jump down to that. We're going to follow that install link to download the Mac installer for Now SMS. And that's going to be in our Downloads folder. We can either access that up here, or I prefer to go into Finder to the Downloads folder. We're going to double click on the download there to unpack the archive. That's going to give us Now SMS install, the Mac version of the Now SMS installer. Mac is going to give us a warning that it can't be opened because it's from an unidentified developer. You need to go into System Preferences, Security and Privacy in order to enable it to be loaded. On the general page there's going to be a warning down at the bottom that it was blocked. Click Open anyway. Confirm that with another click on Open. That's going to start up the installer, which is going to bring us to the web browser. There's an install option in there, and just like in the Linux version, we need to provide the sudo root password in order to be able to install the software, get it set up to run as a service so that it's automatically loaded whenever the machine is booted. And it's installed. Now we need to create an admin account so that the login is not open. So we're going to create our own account here. We need to make sure to enable the option for admin access via the web. And I'm just going to give some SMS credits just in case we want to use this account to send some messages later. So now we're going to log in with the account that we just created. And before we can actually send any messages, like discussed in the other parts of this, we need to create an SMSC connection. And these are the connection types that are supported in Now SMS.